I had two back areas. I don't know if you saw them over here. They were like an area when I built this place. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this area for dragon fruit. Now, just to step back for a minute, this variety that I have, this one is okay. This one does fine here. He's okay. He plumps up. This is slug damage on here. You can see that's damn slugs come up. Slug damage, and if you look underneath here, the fire ants farm the mealies.
Oh, the mealy bugs, yeah.
Right, you see the fire ants on there? They have become a huge problem. I'm going to start treating Simo.
Yep.
I will start treating these guys here in a moment. I had to bring in material, so I wanted to wait till all the material. What's up, Willie? I had to wait till all the materials here, and then I'll start treating with Tango. Are you familiar with fire ant control?
Yeah, Tango.
I'm gonna use Tango is it's an insect growth regulator.
Right.
So it doesn't kill them. What it does is they bring that bait back to the queen,
yeah.
and then slowly her eggs are basically sterile.
Kills the colony.
Yeah.
Right, and then the workers die of old age. So, but it's repetitive application. It's not one application. It's maybe 4 or 5. That he's just being friendly, by the way. That's how he says hello.
Dealt with a few goats in my time.
Yeah. So
And they're all crazy like you.
The dragon fruit was inferior?
the genetics.
Oh, I heard there's a new dragon fruit that doesn't have any thorns on the fruit, the golden one.
There is a golden one. I've seen it but I don't know if it's as good. It may be genetically closer to these than the pitaya, which is Solanaceria, something like this. That's the true pitaya. The smaller yellow one that Bill has, I gave him some seeds.
Mm-hmm.
That one is actually the
best for
it's
the
the
area.
best tasting.
Yeah.
It's the best tasting. But if you're doing it commercially, to try to brush off all those spines, the actual labor connected to that kind of pushes it out of the realm. I've seen photos of Israel where they have these sweepers, and they dump the fruit in a sweeper.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a long cylinder with brushes that come up in different directions, right? And then it spins slowly to knock off those spines. But what happens is the spines end up going into the fruit. It's one of those things. It's more of a hand do with a brush.
Oh yeah.
It's more of a hand do.
And they grow dragon fruit, you're saying, in Israel?
Oh, in Israel, yeah, it's a big crop in Israel.
Wow.
I met with he's like the godfather of fruit. What are you doing, Willie?
Did he put any mint around the dragon fruit?
Did I put what?
Mint.
I did. I have mint down here. I've got mint all over the place, but
Because that keeps the goats from eating around the base of it, right?
they don't like the mint. They don't really like the mint. I get goats and sheep in here, right? But I just got tired of weed eating this place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just, and they tend to feed on the the lower branches. They actually prune it for me, and I don't care. This crop turned out, like I said, because of the choice I made, back in the 90s, okay, when I was over in Thailand and Vietnam. I had a partner over. I said, hey man, there's one that's smaller, but it's sweeter. And when it first started growing here, it was fine. And then we tried to trace it down. I worked with UH and all that. They believe that it's possibly a boron deficiency. Okay.
Boron, yeah.
At one point, but you know what? I have another variety that I don't have that issue with. So, to me, it just turned out to be a genetic inferior crop.
Oh.
So what I do is I said, you know what? You can't throw good money after bad. So I'm on to the ornamentals. All we did was kind of scrape the top off.
Oh, okay.
For the most part, and then we planted this pasture grass.
Oh, okay.
This guy, right? You can see it all coming up. This guy is a really good pasture grass, The best name I can come up with this from research is Baron Goto, and it's a really good pasture grass. Very aggressive. California grass is another good, really good pasture grass, except if the animal eats it down to the ground, it doesn't come back.
Oh,
It doesn't come back. This guy, he's
very
pretty
strong.
aggressive, and then he comes back. You can see where we planted it all. So I'm just waiting for that to come in because feeding these guys turns into be an expense. You know, so getting the right pasture grass is critical. And it's just an arena for my little girl ride her horse
Oh, okay.
over there. So that's what that is.
Yeah, because I heard that the red cinders aren't good for planting in
You know what?
because it takes phosphorus out.
I tell you what. I've talked to Arthur Lyman. Have you heard of the Lyman Museum and all that? And he took me around and he let me use an acre to do my R&D on dragon fruit years and years ago. And he says he did the analytical work on the two types of cinder, and there is no difference,
Oh,
according to him. The problem with this red, the big problem with the red cinder is it tends to be more dense than the black.
Oh.
Okay, that's really the issue with the cinders. Okay, it just tends to be more black. I've never heard that it robs phosphorus. I can't say that to be true because I tell you what, I've got this cinder and I have used it as potting media with regular Hamakua soil, and it works.
Oh, okay.
It works, right? It does work, but it is. I use only the black with my export plants.
Oh,
Okay,
right.
I use it's very expensive, but because they're running out. But it's 5/8 clean, they call it.
Oh,
Right, so it has no fines in it,
uh-huh.
right? And that guy really works well for potting
pots.
mix.
Oh, okay.
This is neem, yeah. These are neem trees.
And this is to kind of keep the disease, keep the bugs out a little bit.
Okay, so with the neem, this is what they press. It looks like a little olive.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they press this guy. There's a wooden core in here, right? So they press this and they get the oil out of this guy.
Oh.
Okay,
And the septic oil.
and the oil is also as a growth insect regulator, right? The neem oil.
Growth insect regulator?
Yeah, that's what it is. So, but originally I said, you know what? Let me put these neem trees in here because my original plan was, if you chip the neem, that the actual alkaloid in there is in the wood as well. And I was going to use that as mulch around the base of these trees, because what it does at that point was the life cycle of a fruit fly is she lays eggs in the fruit. The larva drops out of the fruit when he's ready to pupate, and he burrows in the ground, and then he emerges from the ground as an adult.
Right.
So if you use the chips, again being an insect growth regulator, use the chips around the base, he's not gonna emerge as an adult. Okay, he'll stay in. So that was the original theory behind putting all the neem trees on at the end.
And it keeps some of the other bugs out too, right?
Yeah. I've never really used it again as an insecticide because you buy neem oil way cheaper than I could buy. Get a press and press all the oil and all of that. That's just
Picking all the berries.
Yeah, it's a product of India, right? You know what I mean, for the most part. So
Right.
it's cheap. So no sense even thinking about doing that commercially right now. So. Right now, I'm just trying to get my pastures in. We kind of switched from a orchard to a pasture because the sheep is doing really well here, right? And it may step up the livestock production.
Yeah, helping building up the soil and stuff too.
Absolutely. They're called hair sheep. We believe that as opposed to wool sheep.
Oh, okay.
So what we believe is that these sheep are a cross between St. Croix and Barbados blackbelly. Okay, but they're a tropical sheep, and they can handle down here. I actually gave a couple to my nephew. He brought them up to Waimea, and he lost a couple of them up there. So then I don't think they don't like it too cold. They like it more more tropical, but they are basically maintenance free. Occasionally when it's time to round them up, I worm them all. We emu'd a couple of these guys
Oh, that's when you put them in the ground?
for graduation, yep, and I'll tell you what, they were freaking delicious. But they're called hair sheep, that's the variety. And they drop like twice a year, and they usually drop twins.
Oh.
So that's the way that goes.
Is that the mom, the big one there?
The big one with the balls? No, that's the dad.
Oh, it got balls.
He's got monster nuts. He's got monster nuts.
I don't know why he needs them so big. You can take a
Look at him. What do you need such big balls for? I don't get it. Desmodium, that's actually good for these guys. It's a higher protein content. But a lot of these scrub grasses don't have the nutrition for the horse. These guys are undulants, which means they regurgitate their food, so they get the most out of it. So they're like less fussy than a horse. Horse's one stomach is his fermentation process is one crack, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't re-chew. That's why he's constantly eating. These guys will sit down and cud, right? They'll cut. This is 3/8 minus black cinder.
Oh, okay.
3/8 minus. Because you kind of put the frosting on the. He's got tracks in here. It's not really mowable.
Right.
Okay, when he leaves any machine. So we just topped it with cinder. I just topped it with cinder. I used what was it, an 832-8, something like
Yeah,
that,
the base.
fertilizer. I put that down before I put the cinder down, and then after I put the cinder down, I put some on top. Okay, that way this percolates real easily,
Yeah.
right down, but phosphorus gets locked up, right,
Right.
in the soil profile. So I used ryegrass as the top seed coat, and then I used centipede grass. All that little stuff coming up is called centipede grass,
Oh.
right? And the
That's
centipede.
the tougher stuff.
It's a much lower grown. Yeah, the ryegrass is just for a quick cover.
Right.
He goes away
That's
really
like the
quick. It's
people
an
out in
annual ryegrass. Right?
California.
Yeah, it's just an annual ryegrass. And then, but the centipede grass is a much lower growing grass. It's a lower maintenance grass.
Tougher, yeah.
Okay, for mowing.
Yeah.
Okay, and easy, right? Expensive though. It's like $56 a pound.
Wow.
So this was like 3 pounds. So it's 1 pound per 1,000 square feet. The ryegrass is like 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet.
Oh.
Right.